Welcome to the Bold Goal Crusher podcast. For anyone looking to stop letting life get in the way and start crushing bold goals. I'm your host, Sarah Mayer, and I'm thrilled to navigate this journey with you because it's time to start boldly achieving without working double time. So let's dive in. Hello, Bold Goal Crushers. I'm super excited about today's episode and my guest. We are going to have a great conversation today. I think you're going to find that she's a real firecracker and has a lot going on. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest, Alicia Butler Pierre. She is on a quest to revolutionize the way small businesses operate. And she does that by speaking, coaching, writing, lecturing, and podcasting. She's the founder and CEO of Equilibria Incorporated and the best-selling author of Beyond the Facade, the world's first published book on business infrastructure. She hosts the Weekly Business Infrastructure podcast, which ranks in the world's top 2%. This is going to be a great conversation. And she's also an adjunct instructor of lean principles at Purdue University and operations management at Nichols College. This is what I find very interesting in her bio. A chemical engineer. You heard that? A chemical engineer turned entrepreneur. She's advised, designed, and optimized processes for organizations including Coca-Cola, Shell Oil, the Library of Congress, and the Home Depot. I am so excited about this conversation. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Sarah, thank you so much. As I was listening to you, I'm like, is that me she's describing? Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
I love it. And yeah, I think so many times when we hear ourselves introduced, we're like, wow, I've really done a lot over my short life. And I think sometimes we don't always pat ourselves on the back for everything we've accomplished. We're
So
on to the
true.
next as busy women.
So true. And sometimes I have to remind myself to stop and smell the roses.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk about this chemical engineer turned entrepreneur. How did this happen?
How did that happen? After I graduated from college, I worked so chemical engineers, we typically, if we work in industry, we
Mhm.
typically work as what's called process engineers or design engineers. And so I happen to do both. But it was when I worked as a process engineer, I was working at Monsanto. So for
Mm.
those who are familiar with Monsanto, yes, I was making poison. I hated it. I was there for several years, but it didn't take me long, Sarah, to realize I did not want to be in a chemical plant or an oil refinery for the rest of my career. It's grimy, gritty work. You're literally in the trenches. And I enjoyed the work that I did, but I didn't like the actual environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until during that time I realized I didn't understand business. I had no clue about business. And there were different accountants who would come and present these reports to us. And it was like they were speaking Greek, talking
Mhm.
about profit and liabilities and assets and equity and all of these terms. And I was lost because I only knew the technical work of engineering. And I didn't have an appreciation for how changes in the marketplace and changes in demand, customer demand, how the impact that had on our day-to-day production schedules. So that was when I decided to go back to business school. So I was working full
Mm.
time during the day, going to business school at night. And eventually I left Monsanto, started working for a small family owned engineering consulting firm. And that opened my eyes. Not only the business education opening my eyes up to the world of commerce, but being in such a different environment, going from something that was highly bureaucratic, political, siloed, to being in a smaller company where you didn't have time, there was no ladder to climb. It was a family owned business. So unless you were part of the family, you probably weren't going to be promoted.
Yeah.
You're only going to be promoted so high up. But it was great because, Sarah, I had a greater opportunity to be introduced to all other aspects of the business.
Yeah.
So getting a taste of what was going on in HR, sales, marketing, and seeing how everything was interconnected. And I was living in New Orleans, and I just had this feeling that I had to get out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. Couldn't explain it to anyone. And I remember finishing up my MBA December 2004. By the following January 2005, I put my house up on the market to sell. It sold within a week. I relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, where I knew one person.
Yeah, that's a
But it's
bold move. Yeah.
talk about bold, right?
Yeah.
Bold, and I had goals.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, the reason I tell that part of the story is because 6 months later, Hurricane Katrina happened.
Mm,
And I was just so glad that I listened to that inner voice. I listened to that intuitive nudge because I had a good thing going
yeah.
when I was in New Orleans, and I gave it all up in pursuit of really the unknown.
Yeah.
It was scary. It was very bold, to your point. And when I came here, I thought I was going to get a job, Sarah, because I just had my MBA,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen. So I started a business. So that's how I made that transition from working as an engineer to becoming an entrepreneur. And I never looked back
Mm.
once I started my business.
I love that. And I love that you, like, took that big, bold move. I don't like, divine intervention or whatever that
Yes,
got you out of there.
indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. So truly, because
Yeah.
sometimes I think it happens to many of us. We
Yeah.
have these gut feelings, these
Mhm.
intuitive thoughts, and it just won't go away.
Yeah.
And sometimes we choose to either ignore it, or we address it, and we listen to that inner voice. We listen to that gut feeling, that intuitive thought.
Yeah.
And thankfully I did.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, and everyone who's listening right now, I didn't know what the future held.
Mhm.
I didn't even know what was on the other side. I just knew that I needed to get out, and that if I didn't get out, it would somehow be detrimental
Yeah.
in more ways than one.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you moved across country to a place you knew one person. How did you pick that place?
So interestingly enough, Atlanta was just one of those cities. I think because
Mhm.
there's so many corporations that are headquartered here. So I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, Sarah, I actually wanted to move to New York.
Oh,
I wanted to go
that
to
takes
New
money.
York. Oh, yes. And
Uh-huh.
a completely different change in lifestyle.
Yeah.
Going from a city known as the Big Easy, going to the Big Apple,
Yeah.
some totally different environments. New York, as we all know, is incredibly fast paced. But it
Mhm.
took me so when I was in graduate school, the name of the business school at Tulane University is called the A.B. Freeman School of Business. So they do an event every year called Freeman Days in New York. And it's basically like a one big field trip where they arrange with alumni who work in different organizations throughout usually it was throughout Manhattan to be specific. And that's when the reality I
Mhm.
attended in 2004, fall 2004. That's when the reality of living and
Mhm.
working in New York really hit me. And I was like, you know what? I'll just continue to visit.
Yeah. It's a much different pace.
I want to be able to live and live comfortably.
Yeah.
And I was not going to be able to do that without having a roommate and all of those things. And at that point in my life, I had not had a roommate in years.
Yeah.
So it was just going to be such a fundamental change
Mhm.
in my lifestyle. And I was like, yeah, it's still a great place to visit, but I don't think I can live here. And so I just chose Atlanta. That was choice
Good
number two.
choice. Yeah, so, funny story, I digress a little bit, but it's a good one. So, I moved from Chicago to Statesboro, Georgia. So, like, very small town, and I was
Oh,
working as an intern for this was for my master's degree, and I was working as an intern with fraternity and sorority life. And so, it's a different pace in Georgia than it is in Chicago, very different. And my, like, boss, I guess she was my boss, but I wasn't getting paid, so it seems weird to call her my boss, but "I need you to go to lunch with these ladies who to talk about sorority housing." I'm like, "Sure, okay." And I left at 11:30 to get there at 12, And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I will be back for sure by 1 o'clock." And you're chuckling because you know what happened. And I am not kidding. By 3:30, I still hadn't even left
Oh,
this, like, restaurant. And I was, like, so on edge, and so afterwards, I, like, get back, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I've been gone so long, I didn't mean to be gone." "I didn't even think you were gonna come back today." I was like, "What?" She's like, "I thought that you would just leave from there and go home." I was like, "No, I went to lunch." "Oh, that is a whole day thing for those ladies." And
oh,
then one of
wow.
the ladies called me, and they're retired, they're older. And one of the ladies called me and she was like, "I know this was your first lunch. How did it go?" And I was like, "It was good. It was a little long." "I'm from Detroit." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And "Let me clue you in. It is an all afternoon thing."
Wow.
And I play a little game in my head, which now you can play with me, of how long will it take before the first person opens the menu. The record is an hour and a half. I'm like, "They sit
Wow.
there talking for an hour and a half before they even order?" "That's the current record."
Wow. Okay. So that is not Atlanta.
It was, like, totally mind-blowing to me. I was like, "Okay, this is a whole different pace." And then I moved to Florida, and that was, like, on beach time. They were even less fast-paced.
More
Anyway,
relaxed. Yeah.
I digress, but it
That's
was really
funny.
a culture shock too, because I realized for me in Chicago, like, lunch was, like, the thing you did to get back to work, whereas
Mm,
in that town, lunch was the event.
interesting. Very
Yeah, it
interesting.
was the event, so you might have bit the bullet a little bit going to New York, saved yourself some. You would have been running around like chicken with your head cut off. Anyway,
Exactly.
so you moved to Atlanta, you started your own business. What was your first business?
It was Equilibria, the company that I have
Oh,
now,
wow,
but
good for you.
it was different, Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually a professional organizing business.
Oh, okay.
Because so what happened, when I first moved here, I was thinking, who wouldn't hire me? The
Yeah,
arrogance of me to think that I was just the most employable person on the planet at that time. But that
yeah.
did not happen. And after about 2 months of what seemed to be endless, soulless job searching, I decided for the same amount of time, effort, and energy that I'm putting into looking
Mhm.
for a job,
Yeah,
working for someone else, why don't I just start my own thing?
yeah.
And it just so happened, Sarah, at the time, I was reading different books, articles, watching documentaries, all of these things that were basically communicating the same message. And that message is we're all born and blessed with natural skills, talents, and abilities. But somehow
Mm,
over the years, through a process of quote unquote education, we're really being taught
mhm,
and groomed to work for someone else
mhm.
and to not capitalize on what we're naturally very good at, the things that really do bring us joy, the things that
Yeah,
we can do for hours and hours on end, and it won't even seem like work.
yeah.
So I started through a process of introspection, started thinking, what is that thing for me? And for me, it
Mhm.
was organizing. So I started thinking about every job I ever had up to that point, whether I was flipping burgers as a teenager or working in a plant as an engineer. I succeeded at what I did, not because I was the smartest person in the room, but because I was really organized.
Yeah.
And I remember doing a search online and discovered there was this organization called NAPO, the National Association of Professional Organizers. Who knew such an organization existed? And
Yeah,
I think maybe a year or two later, these different organizing shows started coming up on TV, like Hoarders and
yeah,
like these before and after extreme situations where people go from a state of chaos to order. And that was how I started my company. I remember making some business cards on my little inkjet printer. I went to an Office Depot and bought the little Avery business card.
And we all start out that way. That's why I'm chuckling, because we all start out that way. People are like, oh my gosh, your company, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we all started out printing business cards on our printers.
And I wish I could tell you that I had this carefully crafted, thought out plan, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I just started networking. I started going to different events, different Chamber of Commerce type events and places where other business people were hanging out. And I did a great deal of bartering in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to build a portfolio of before and after pictures and getting those testimonials. And then eventually over time, it morphed and evolved into what it is today. So
I
it
love that.
shifted from organizing to business infrastructure.
Yeah. And I love that story because it shows that you don't have to have it all figured out to get
Mhm.
started.
That's exactly right. And even when we think we do have it all figured out, Sarah, it's not until we actually get out there, boots on the ground, that we realize, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I thought it would be this way, but
Yeah.
but the market is telling me something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how much research you might do ahead of the fact. At the end of the day, it's always your customers who tell you exactly what they want and
Yeah.
how they want it.
Yeah. And sometimes they see things in you that maybe you didn't see in yourself as well.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So you went from organizing to business infrastructure, and then now you're the host of your own podcast, which
Mhm.
ranks in the top 2%. How did that come about?
So things were starting to get stale in business.
Mm,
December 2017, Sarah, I was thinking, oh my gosh, something was missing in business. And I at that point, I
mhm,
thought I had done everything I could do.
mhm,
Was reaching a stalemate I was at a crossroads. And there was a digital marketing consultant whose newsletter list I had been on for years. But
mhm,
then one day, sometimes it's funny, you can be on these lists for a long time. And then one day they just happen to write about that one thing or say that one thing that really hits home. And I decided to contact him. He was in
mhm.
Detroit. You mentioned Detroit earlier.
Yeah.
And we started working together December 2017. By the following January of 2018, he was like, you need to write a book. And I was like,
Mm,
I can't write a book. I'm not an author. No. But he was like, you can and you will.
I love
And
it.
I started that process. As I was writing the book, I started to become very disenchanted with the process. I had no
Mhm,
appreciation for just how long it would take.
mhm,
And so I was expressing my frustration to this digital marketing coach one day. And he said, maybe you should also start a podcast. And I was like, a podcast?
mhm.
I can't host a
Oh,
podcast.
they
And he
see
said,
things in you that you don't see in yourself.
exactly. He
Uh-huh.
said, you can and you will. And I started thinking about, so I'm a Toastmaster.
Oh, I am as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you agree that to me, Toastmasters I would say, and this is by no means an exaggeration, from a professional development standpoint, it is one of the most important
Mhm.
organizations I've ever joined.
I agree. Yep.
It's relatively inexpensive in comparison to
Yeah.
other professional organizations that are out there, but you get so much out of it.
Yeah.
And I started the podcast, Sarah, in June of 2018. So it's coming up on 5 years. And truthfully, it was like throwing spaghetti on the wall kind of approach and seeing what would stick. So this digital marketing coach suggested this book. He suggested this podcast. I was like, okay, I'll try it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But here we are, almost five
Mhm.
years later, still going with the podcast. And as it's a lot of work,
Mhm.
but it truly breathed new life into my business.
I love it. Yeah, and now to be in the top 2%, that is just a incredible. You totally crushed that, whether it was a goal or not.
It was not a goal. I didn't even know that was a thing
Yeah.
until a couple of years ago. It's if you go
Mhm.
to listennotes.com and you can just
Yeah.
type in the name of a show and it'll tell you the ranking. And that's when I was like, oh wow. So now that
Mhm.
I know that number, now that I know that metric, of course, you always want to try to improve. And that's an extension of what I do with my clients. We talk a lot about processes
Mm.
and metrics and how to really always raise the bar,
Yeah,
continuously improve. And so that's what we've been doing.
I love it, and I love that you were able to marry your training from being an engineer into business, but in a way that really fits what you're designed to do.
Absolutely. And it feels good, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think that's so important to stress to your listeners. It
Mhm.
feels good. It feels natural.
Yeah,
I have to stop myself from working sometimes
that's
because
great.
as we can, when you're passionate about something, you can just keep going. But I do
Mhm.
have to remind myself,
Yeah,
stop, smell the roses,
yeah,
don't forget to eat. It's time to go to sleep. You do need
yeah,
sleep. So I'm trying to get better at those things.
yeah, when you get in that flow, it's
You're in the zone.
effortless as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've heard from some of my listeners and clients is that, and your story is a true testament to this, that they have done something for so long or been told they should be this. And it's hard for them to make maybe not a 180, but a hard right turn or a hard left turn into something else because they feel like they've spent so much time doing this. And I think there's some, I don't know the right word, but I think they feel like they're not successful if they change direction.
Ah, got it. So
Yeah.
I can tell you to speak to that. One of the things
Yeah.
that I'm being pushed to do that I have resisted,
Uh-huh.
but as you said, as you brilliantly said, sometimes people see things in you that you don't see
Mhm.
in yourself. And if enough people start telling you the same thing, you
Yeah.
might want to pay attention. But I hate being on, like, for me right now, being on video with you is
Yeah.
I am definitely out of my comfort zone. I don't like being on video. I don't like having my picture taken, but my team keeps telling me, get
Mhm.
on camera more, get on
Yeah.
video, show your face, show up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to. This has to be right. This has to be, I'm focusing on lighting and this, that, and hair and makeup. And they're like, who cares? Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
No one
Um,
cares. Actually, I think they like it better when you just show up how you are.
exactly, because you're authentic, right?
Yep.
But,
Because
but
then they feel better. Oh, my house looks like that too. Yes.
But for me, because it's such a stretch for me personally, because
Yeah.
it's forcing me to be out of my comfort zone. And to speak exactly to what you were just saying, I've been behind the camera for so
Mhm.
long that to be in front of it's forcing me again to do something that I'm uncomfortable with, but it's part of my personal development and growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that oftentimes when people see things in you, they're also looking for the courage to do it for themselves as well.
Mm, isn't that something? I'm
Mhm.
telling you what you should do, even though I'm not doing it myself.
Yep. Yeah. Like you should go write a book.
Have you written a book? No, but you should.
No, but you're perfect for that. But so many goals are like that. When we really set out to do the big, bold things, as you've probably heard me talk about in the show, there are people out there, there are very few things that haven't already been done. And there are people out there that have already done it. Yet many times when we set out to do that thing, we're like, I can't do this. No way I could do this. And we get into this whole thing. And but there are lots of people who've figured all those things out. And once we get past that little valley of where we're at, the gap from where we're at and where we're trying to go, I call that quitter's valley. But once we get past that, we're like, oh, let me tell you how to rank in a podcast. Let me tell you this website. Like all of a sudden, we're like the pros, but it's that valley that we have to get through in order to actually come out the other side and feel successful.
Indeed. And I have heard you talk about it's funny because when I first started listening to your show and I would hear you say, there's other people who've already done this. And I started thinking about the
Yeah.
expression, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
It's very much in alignment with what you say. And there's a book, if I may mention, by Seth Godin. You're probably familiar with it, called The Dip. So it talks
Yeah.
about that very thing, what you're referring to as Quitter's Valley, which I love, by the way. You should
Thanks.
write a book about that,
Oh,
Sarah.
there you go. See, now it's on the podcast. I've actually
Seriously.
thought about writing a book.
Seriously, you should write a book about that. So his book it's a really thin book. You could easily read it in a day, but it talks about the fact that just at that moment where we're ready to give up, oh, this
Mhm.
doesn't work. If we could just push through, if we could get through that quitter's valley, on
Mhm.
the other side of that is, that's where the treasure is. That's where the
Yeah.
pot of gold is on the other side of that rainbow. But we
Mhm.
just have to keep going. And it's tough
Yeah.
when you're looking at your YouTube channel, for example, and you're not getting the subscribers, you're not getting the views, or you
Mhm.
may not be getting the downloads or whatever your metrics
Yeah.
are. And but yet you're consistently putting out the content, or you're consistently doing whatever it is that you're doing. It
Yeah.
can be incredibly discouraging, but just keep going, because a lot of times we do quit too early.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit, I sometimes don't know when to quit,
Yeah.
when I probably should quit something. It would be great to hear your perspective on that, because I definitely have, I think, the exact opposite problem. Like, I'll keep going. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, Alicia, you've done this for 2 years now, and
Yeah.
it's not getting you where you need to go.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting topic too, because I work with a lot of people who have goals, and the number one thing I'll ask them is, "Where's your goal plan?" And I already know the answer to that. Like, they'll have 5 notebooks full of to-do lists and, like, an Asana board and all this stuff, and it's got stuff on there, do the laundry. I just thought that was a given. I don't put that on my to-do list every week. But they don't have a focused goal plan, and what they also don't have are results and measures that they're tracking to see what they've tried, whether or not it's working or not, because you can do the same thing over, and you know this from engineering, and if you're not getting any making any progress, that is the definition of insanity. But if you're trying different things, then you can then go back into a goal document and say, I tried this, I tried this, I tried that. And it gives you that roadmap of what have you tried and what is working and not working. Because many times it's not the big thing that's not working. It's these little things that with a little tweak will change the outcome.
I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
And that should go in your book.
You heard it here. There you go.
That's right. Like, I'm
Yeah.
already envisioning a worksheet with your
Yep.
goal plan and how you start. Yeah. I already see it for you, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. And that's the hardest part, I think, because people feel like they have to have the whole thing figured out from beginning to end. You've written a book. There are a lot of steps to go from actually writing the book to publishing the book to selling the book to promoting the book. And if you actually saw all those steps on a document before you started, you probably would still be sitting here saying, I can't do that.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now that you've done it, you're telling other people to write books.
Hmm.
Yep.
Because it can be such a game changer for you. And
Mhm.
I've heard some people say, "Oh, I use my book as a more expensive business card, or it can be gifted to other people." It's been leveraged in so many ways, and so
Mhm.
the book and the podcast combined, I would say those two things
Yeah.
really help turn things around in my company.
Yeah.
Because the other thing, if I may mention about writing a book as well as even doing a podcast, is that it's giving you the opportunity to take all of this knowledge that you've gained over the years and put it into a format that can easily be shared with other people on a massive
Yeah.
level, on a massive scale.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was doing consulting, that's very transactional, one on one. But when I have a book, and
Mm.
there could be hundreds of people who could be sent to that book at the same time potentially, and still
Yeah.
be able to have access to the information, access to the knowledge.
Yeah. Now, you took a lot of leaps of faith that I envision took a lot of courage. What advice do you give to people who have something else on their heart, but it is a hard left turn? It's different than they've been doing their whole life. What words of advice would you give them to find the courage to do that?
I would say if you can, just start small. Just do a little pilot of something.
Yeah.
For example, I know for many people, the thought of leaving their 9 to 5 job or whatever their regular job is, it's scary. I get it. You know,
Yeah.
you might have a family that you have to support. I totally understand that. But maybe you could start something as a side hustle. Just
Yeah.
start dabbling in it a little bit. Introduce yourself to how to get a website up and running, how to whatever, whether it's you have an actual
Yeah.
product or a service. Just start experimenting. But again, do it on a very small scale so that you don't get overwhelmed
Yeah.
and just see how that goes.
I love it.
Yeah, just start small. And that's a concept that I really learned from software developers that I know. This idea of coming up with an MVP, a minimum viable product. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to, and you've said this also, Sarah, you don't have to have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just maybe a piece of it. Put it out there in the marketplace. See if people will take the bait. And if they do, then you can start to continuously
Mhm.
improve, make other changes. Think about it. How many times have we purchased something, especially software, and it's riddled with bugs,
And we still love it.
and we still love it? We still buy it. And then they come out with version 2.0 and then 3.0.
Then we
Happens
start convincing our friends.
And it happens with apps that we download onto our phones. There's constantly update.
Yeah.
In other words, it's never perfect, but
Yeah.
they get something out there.
Mhm.
See if there's anybody else out there that would actually want it and would want to try it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, all it takes is for people to start liking it and telling their other friends. And then it has that viral effect. And then before you know it, you will have to quit that regular job that you have and pursue your business full
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, I love it. So I love this conversation. If somebody is listening and they want to connect with you, how could they connect with you? And then what could they expect?
The best way to connect with me personally is probably through LinkedIn. So just look for me, Alicia Butler Pierre. I'm happy to connect. We can certainly start messaging each other there. If you want to go to my website, it's eqbsystems.com. We are actually there. You can see the podcast, you can see information about the book. But if you also want to know a little bit more about business infrastructure, especially for those who are listening right now and might have kind of a chaotic situation going on because you have more business
Yeah.
than you can handle. We have an online course that we just launched.
Ooh, I love
So
it.
you can go there again, eqbsystems.com, and you'll see where you can link to the course. And yeah, so we're just doing whatever we can now, Sarah, to really get information to the masses. And the online
Yeah.
course is our latest extension of that
Yeah.
effort.
And that goes back to whatever you're trying to do, somebody else has already done something very similar. And sometimes you need to just create that learning plan. And that's what I love about courses because you can learn from other people. And then part of the learning plan, you need to also have an implementation plan. So, where you go out and implement what you just learned. So, definitely check out that course because I know many of you have quitting your 9 to 5 on your list. And many of you have started businesses and you maybe have created something that you left in your 9 to 5. So it's a good time to take a look at your business and say, is this the business that I really dreamed of that gives me that freedom that I'm looking for? Or have I basically just created something that's another more than 9 to 5 job? So
Mhm.
definitely check out all of Alicia's stuff on business infrastructure because that can be the key to ensuring that you have a business that you love.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you. All right, everyone. It's time to get out there and crush your bold goals and everything that gets in the way so you don't have to work double time. So let's get to it. Thank you for tuning in to the Bold Goal Crusher podcast, where we crush goals and everything that gets in the way. I look forward to seeing you crush your goals this year.